Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheep Get Sheared podcast. I'm your host, Austin Creed. I want to welcome you into the show. My friends, today's going to be about a very interesting topic. I want to make a very bold assertion today. And that assertion is as follows. I believe American democracy to be dead. And not only do I believe it to be dead, I would like to assert that it really never existed as we think it did in the first place. It might have in the very early days of this country, but as we've seen with Greece, with Rome, as these countries grow and these civilizations expand, it tends to morph into something else to keep up with the change. Now, for those of you who are more politically inclined, I would like to show you something that might provoke some feelings in you, and that's good, because provoking feelings gets to provoke good and colorful conversations. And that is what I want us to really talk about on the show today. And for those of you who maybe are not as political, don't worry, your time will come. But today we're talking mainly about politics because we're talking about democracy. Now, before we dive into my first point that I really want to drive home, which will be a short on YouTube about none other than the infamous modern-day war criminal, so-called, Vladimir Putin. We're going to hear what he says about the Trump situation, what he has to say about American democracy. And you might be asking me, Austin, why in the world do I care what Putin has to say about American democracy? Well, that's a good question. And the answer is because he's not an American. And while I'm sure has his own means, he has his own biases and whatnot, as every other human being does, what I really want to push forward and assert today is that, look, it's really, really easy to say, hey, I know where I stand, I don't want to hear anything else, my mind's made up. Well, I would like to tell you, I want you to hold back on that. I think that's too bold. In fact, here's what we're going to do. Let's get into this video. And before we get into it, I want to remind you, do not have your biases directly out in the open. I want to challenge you to stay neutral. Even if you agree with me and you like Trump, you like, if you're more conservative leaning, I want you to hold back your judgments because I want to dive into this. Let's dive into this. Share the screen. All right. You ready for it? Let's do this. Vladimir Putin comments on Trump. Let's go.
As far as the prosecution of Trump is concerned, this is good for us in today's conditions because it shows the rottenness of the American system, which cannot pretend to teach others about democracy. All that is happening with Trump is the persecution of a political rival for political reasons. And this is done in front of the public of the United States and the whole world. As far as the prosecution...
Wow, did you hear that? You see, the interesting thing is we as Americans, we like to think that, oh, we're bastions of hope and freedom and democracy and whatnot. Well, first of all, we're not really a democracy. We are a putative republic. Or as I like to call it, a dictatorship that's punctuated every couple years by an election. Because make no mistake about it, the power maybe in principle is supposed to lie with the people, but the money is too powerful. The money is even more powerful. The people don't hold the power. It is the money. Big money holds the power. Why? Because they're the ones that can control everything that you read, everything that you see, everything that you hear, everything you watch on the internet is put forward by them. Campaigns are funded by them. Corporate media is funded by them. Social media is funded by them. And do you notice when guys like Elon Musk, for example, when he doesn't get with the program, he actually opens it up even a little bit towards a little bit more free speech. Guess what they do? They boycott him. They try to get rid of him. Sound familiar? Trump is the same way. Trump says, hey, I'm rich. I don't need people to give me money. I'm going to run with my own money. And immediately, no, we can't have that. We're losing leverage. We need leverage. We need leverage. We can't just let somebody actually do the job. No. We need to have strings put on him here, 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 and here. So when we pull the string like a good puppet, he goes along with it. We can't have that. So then when you have Vladimir Putin saying this is great for us, because guess what? It shows to him, to Russia, and to the rest of the world that democracy, so-called, is a fraud. And Americans aren't calling it out, he says. Well, this American certainly is trying to. But you know what? Maybe I'm being a little too hasty. You know what? Maybe Joe Biden's not that bad. Maybe I'm letting my political biases get in the way. Maybe he's totally in for democracy. And maybe, let's pretend for a minute that Trump is a bad guy. And you know what? We need to listen to the man of the free world who was totally elected in the most free election of our time, mind you. We need to hear what he has to say, because everyone knows that Joe Biden can't lie. He's too nice. He can't lie. As we all know, politicians aren't paid liars. They all care about the little guy so much. Even though they only hang out with millionaires and billionaires, they know by hanging out with millionaires and billionaires what you need. And they know what's best for you. So let's go and let's watch what Joe Biden has to say, or what more accurately, what CBS News, fair use to them before they come after me. There's this new thing called fair use policy. Let us explore what Joe Biden has to say.
President Biden issued several stark warnings about threats to American democracy Thursday in Arizona. In his fourth speech on the topic, which is also expected to be central to his 2024 campaign, Biden, who normally remains silent about his predecessor.
He remains silent about Trump? Really? Okay, I don't know about that. That sounds like a bunch of garbage to me, but okay, keep going, sir.
Did not hold back against Donald Trump and his, quote, extremist MAGA movement.
Do you ever think you'd hear leaders of political parties in the United States of America speak like that? Seizing power.
Seizing power? I'm sorry. If you get mad that I pause this a lot, I have to do it for fair use purposes, number one, and number two, I can't let a lie just go by and not say anything. First of all, seizing a power, oh, you mean like what you've done over the course, you and your friends in the Democrat Party? Now, I realize that George Bush was also a physical socialist, in my estimation, with how much power he pulled out of the halls of Congress and into the executive branch. So I am not saying that the Republicans are as clean as the driven snow. What I am saying is Joe Biden is a liar. He's already lied. Let's keep going.
Concentrating power. Attempting to abuse power.
Attempting to abuse power. Oh, you mean like what you've done with the Justice Department without prosecuting your own son, who, from what I've seen, has a smoking gun or a computer with evidence of him doing many illegal things. Where's the prosecution there, sir? Oh, that's right, nowhere. What about the big guy who's implemented in there? Who is that? Oh, right, you! So what do you mean usurping power and abusing power? You're abusing power by not prosecuting people who are committing crimes. Do I need to go into enforcing the border, sir? According to the Constitution, that is your job. It is to enforce the laws put forward from the halls of Congress and curtailed by the Supreme Court if necessary. Guess what? You're not doing that, sir. Not only are you not doing that with the border, you're allowing the marijuana to be distributed, in the states, which is technically a federal crime. And tomorrow you could say, supremacy clause, bang, we're not letting you do that anymore. But you won't do that.
Purging and packing key institutions.
Oh, you mean like the executive branch?
Spewing conspiracy theories.
Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta pause the video right there, okay? Conspiracy theories. Every time I hear the phrase conspiracy theory, you want to know what that actually means? Now, this is not legal advice. This is not nothing, okay? This is for entertainment purposes only. But here's what I'm going to tell you. You want to know what they call a conspiracy theory? In other words, I didn't pay for someone to say it. Politician didn't say it. Big tech didn't say it. Big media didn't say it. And we didn't get some schmuck with a degree, or some schmuck with a lab coat, or some schmuck historian, some putz who's paid for by my friends in big tech, didn't come out here and say, well, you see, John, because of the historical this and the historical that, we know that this is true. No, they didn't get some putz, some schmuck to come out here and say it's true. In other words, they got some paid pimp in a lab coat, in my estimation, or some paid pimp in a suit with a book to come out there and say, well, sir, that is not true, because I have bots on social media who go in, and if any time anybody says anything against what we don't like or what we think is the truth, we're going to say it's misinformation and lies. That's what a conspiracy theory means. You're getting too close to the truth and the government's saying you're lying because they don't want you going any farther. Because they can't legally actually shut down your free speech. They just gaslight you. It's political gaslighting.
Spreading lies for profit and power to divide America in every way.
Oh, you mean like you? Brothers. Oh, I didn't share the screen because I don't even want to look at this man anymore, so I can only imagine that you don't want to, but this is unbelievable to me. You mean to tell me that this is all deflection? Let's keep going.
This MAGA threat is a threat to the brick and mortar of our democratic institutions.
No, it's a threat to you and to your administration. It is not a threat to America. You are not America, sir. You are not America. You've never even actually worked in America. For the last, 50 years, you've only worked in the halls of Congress. You don't actually know what it's like to make a living. You've worked for the government for 50 years. What do you know about America? You don't even know anything about the blue-collar guy who has to break his back and work. You don't know anything about someone who actually makes a living.
Misinformation and abuse of power that the president mentioned are just some of the threats to democracy the U.S. is currently facing. The country is also dealing with corruption allegations.
Oh, you mean like the corruption charges that are filed against his own son that also include him? You mean those kind of corruption charges?
In the Senate, legislative deadlock in the House,
legislative deadlock. Oh, you mean how the country was set up to work where people actually debate things? That's the whole point of our system. It's not to have it be easy. It's meant to be a debate and tough. That's the whole point of the system, schmuck. What do you mean deadlock? That's the whole point.
Polarization and limits on voting rights, among others.
Oh, political polarization. Oh, you mean like how if you're white, Christian, male, and you like Trump, people call you a Nazi? You mean like that kind of polarization, sir? You mean how you equate people like me to being a Nazi? So I'm supposed to sit here and say, oh, thank you. Thank you so much for insulting me and for castigating me and for gaslighting me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the abuse. Thank you. Is that what I'm supposed to say instead of calling it out for the garbage it is? Voter suppression? Oh, you mean like how you and your friends in the Democrat Party... Okay, hold on. Stop. A little bit of a fast history lesson for those of you who don't know history, except for the revisionist history by the commies, in my estimation. First of all, voter suppression after the Civil War was pushed by the Democrats in the South. For those of you who have forgotten, the Civil War was fought by the Southern Democrat South against the Northern Republican people, okay? And when they lost the war, they were forced to accept the 13th, 14th Amendments. They were forced to ratify them to end their military occupation by the Union Army. And during Reconstruction, they were stopped every which way to Sunday. They stopped the black vote every which way they could. And the first African Americans who were put in office ran as Republicans. So this voter suppression you're talking about that is still in place in certain places, most likely in the South, were put there by your Democrat buddies. The Ku Klux Klan was started by ex-military people from the South, mostly leadership people in the Confederacy, schmuck, in the South, putz. So your friends in the Democrat Party, it's you are the ones who are putting forward this garbage, this rubbish. Not your recent pivot towards, oh, we love minorities. Historically, you've despised them. So you're a liar. And you don't actually like minorities, you Democrat putzes. You like their vote. If you actually liked them, you'd give them more opportunities and actually help them get out of poverty. You'd make the family better. You would stop this feminist garbage, but you don't. You don't. You just push the lies, you push the rubbish, you push the propaganda because it makes you rich and gives you power. I mean, I'll rest my case. I mean, anybody else want to add anything to that? If you want to add anything to that, please feel free to hit my comment section. Or you can hit up my DMs at Sheared. My ex is over there. Go check it out. But my friends, I mean, come on. Am I the only one who sees this reality for what it is? Am I alone? I mean, if I need to be the Paul Revere of our time, I'll do it. But for God's sakes, am I the only one who sees what's going on here? That this whole thing about, oh, it's a threat to democracy. No, it's a threat to the current power structure. But last time I checked, that's what voting was. The people were supposed to choose, not you. Not you and your boys in power with the billionaire money and the George Soros money, in my estimation, and all these other people. The Jeff Bezos, in my estimation. They're not the ones who's supposed to speak for the people. Unless we can agree that the people never mattered in the first place, unless they were a means to an end. Because that's what they are currently, is a means to an end. We live in an oligarchy, my friends. That it's run by the billionaires and their puppets. Look, I wish I could sit here and say that that's not true. But it is. I'm sorry. I wish I could sit here and tell you that the government is run by the people should always have the power, and they do currently, but they don't have the power. Technically speaking, they do, but when you look at how much the people are divided every which way possible, the people have had their power cut, divided every which way, to the point where it doesn't even matter anymore. If the people collectively rose up, which I am not saying they should, but I'm saying if they did, then they would actually have power. The problem is they don't. Through domestication, through excessive taxation, through gaslighting, through propaganda pushing, all these things, redlining, racism, family court, all these things, they have successfully divided the people amongst themselves and pitted and divided and conquered everybody to make it to the point where the people no longer hold the power. It is the politicians who give themselves power by paying it forward to the people at the top of the food chain, which is the billionaires. My friends, please tell me what you think about this. I'm very curious to know your thoughts. You think I'm fair, foul, completely out in left field, 100% right, whatever it is. Anywhere in between there is fine too. But, I was in class today, and there was this article we were reading about public opinion and public policy, and how the people seem to have very strong opinions on what they don't want, but when it comes to what they actually would replace it with, they don't seem to have any good ideas. That's the problem. If people actually knew what they wanted, then the politicians might actually be forced to give it to them. But they don't. They're fed what they should want by the media and by social media, which is again owned by the billionaires, and then passed by the politicians whose campaigns are funded, again, by the billionaires, so that the billionaires can make more money. Now, I'm not saying we should have communism where we eat the rich. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you need to understand how the system works It is I've had it explained like this. It is a system of Goldman Sachs, for Goldman Sachs, by Goldman Sachs. Now, it's not just Goldman Sachs. It's not, in my opinion. And again, everything I say is for educational, entertainment purposes only. But that's an analogy for it is of the rich, by the rich, and for the rich. It always has been. That's never changed. The founding fathers were the rich people. In case you didn't know, they weren't poor farmers. Maybe some of them were, not that I'm aware of. My friends, please let me know what you have to say. What do you think democracy is alive and well? Do you think it's largely a joke like I do? What do you think? Whatever your opinions are, I would encourage you to stay vigilant, keep informed, and please question everything that comes your way and use your own mind and don't drift. I'm out of here. Have a great day. Peace.